Well, hello folks, and welcome back to Gaborn's Ranger Escapades, Episode 5. This time we will be spending a little bit of time in Blackburrow, which is home of the Blackburrow Gnolls. From here, they launch attacks on Surefall Glade, poaching the animals, murdering the residents, and causing general chaos. In Qeynos, I believe they have dealings with the Bloodsabers and have helped unleash a plague across all of the Qeynos. This place is dangerous for a number of reasons. One is that there's really only one route in or out of the dungeon proper. You can fall down this tree stump here. If you go inside of it, that is a fake floor. You will fall through and down into the dungeon. You can jump down into that center pond area I was looking at just a moment ago, or you can take the proper doorway down and fight your way down through it. You'll run into things like burly gnolls and scrawny gnolls. The level difference between those two is probably 5 or 6 levels, which presents another problem with fighting in this dungeon. You might clear out a camp that is 5 or 6 spawns. They're all blue con gnolls to you, and then suddenly they'll all respawn with gnoll guardsmen or elite gnolls. So it's a difficult place to actually experience, unless you've got a competent group that can fight your way and hold it through anything. This is the snake room where Lord Elgrub spawns, and this is what the average camp looks like inside the dungeon. 4 close together spawns that are all going to link and aggro whenever you pull one. There's 3 regular gnolls there, which are like level 5 or 6, and an elite gnoll guard, which is most likely closer to level 9 or 10. And those 4 right there could respawn as any, well, not exactly any other type of gnoll in the dungeon. I don't think they could respawn as a brewer or something. But you could suddenly have 4 respawns that are all elite gnoll guards. So it's a very dangerous dungeon to hunt in. The Blackburrow gnolls are heavily entrenched there. One of the more dangerous type of gnolls that I didn't get to show off in that little display is the gnoll shamans. They have very dangerous nukes. They will heal other gnolls through walls, through bridges. They are a general nuisance. Me and Wabomund decided to go here, however. Being level 8, it's starting to get harder to get experience out here, and even though we probably could have spent another level or 2 down in the aqueducts, it's kind of nice to mix it up and get some fresh scenery, especially while you can early on in the game. Once you get to the higher levels, like the mid-30s and up, you end up setting in the same dungeons and the same camps for very long periods of time, simply because those camps are effective, and they have tons of people usually around them and into those zones. I decided to continue working on my fletching using the same supplies I bought last time. Only had 1 success because, again, I shouldn't have bought the bone shafts. I believe that is for when your skill is closer to level 20 in fletching. Now, whenever you zone into Blackburrow, there's only one other exit, and it is more or less straight ahead from whenever you zone in, and it leads to permafrost. The frozen, hellish tundra, whose primary danger comes from the wandering orcs. But we are here to kill gnolls. The respawn time here is kind of ridiculous, in that it takes forever. I believe the respawn timer is 22 minutes, so if there's any number of people in the zone, you can pretty much expect most things to be killed unless you fight your way. Well, you don't even have to fight unless you go fairly far down into the dungeon, which is where it becomes incredibly dangerous. Because you never know when the respawns are going to happen. You don't know if you're going to have 1 respawn behind you or 2 or 3. When the patrolling ads are going to respawn, is it going to be a regular gnoll? that spawns on the patrolling route? Is it going to be a guardsman? Is it going to be an elite? Either way, we poked our head down here, and you can see that it looks like there was already a shaman there, perhaps. Maybe that's a warrior. I had assumed that the gnolls aggroed onto Wabomund, but I don't think they did. So the bridge was being camped there. We worked our way over here, and this ramp leads up into a dead end right there. I believe there's 3 or 4 gnoll spawns that happen up there, and the rest of the dungeon is more or less back where that. It looks definitely like a warrior and a shaman. 2 barbarians. If you go that way, it loops further back into the dungeon. There may be an entrance down below us. This place is fairly twisted in its design. It's very easy to get turned around and lost. I shrug because everything is dead. There's nothing really to kill, so we push our way a little bit further ahead. And I'm gonna be honest with you guys, we get into a lot of trouble while we're down here. It's gonna be a reoccurring theme, I believe, with me and Wabo running around, pushing the limits of our abilities and causing misery, more or less. Mostly misery upon ourselves. You can see here that the gnolls had respawned. There was a regular gnoll there, and of course, either him or the pet decided that it would be a good idea to run up there and aggro the 2 elite gnolls. So I believe maybe 6 or 7 minutes we've been in the dungeon, and already bad things are happening. I hit my train to zone button because I know that those 2 Redcon elite gnolls are just going to brutalize and destroy his pet in like 1 or 2 hits, and then quickly be on our asses chasing us out. It looked like nobody was really in the way whenever we ran through there, thankfully. Hopefully they were further off to the side fighting. Bernard there had a surname, so he's at least level 20. Those gnolls most likely wouldn't even look at him twice. They'd be so terrified. So we clear the zone and decide to go back in there. And we have a little bit more success this time, I believe. We go further down past the bridge where the shaman and warrior were fighting. And Wabo got stuck right there in the corner and had to use rewind. If you don't have to use rewind at least once every other night, then are you really adventuring? Are you really? No way to tell what's on the other side of this door, so you kind of just have to walk up and open it. Thankfully, everything was dead right there, because I believe on our way back there is 2 or 3 gnolls guarding that intersection. And once again, this ties back into the dangers I listed of hunting here. These hallways are entirely too empty. Obviously, somebody has been through here and cleared things out, because I would have to imagine with all of this space that there would at least be a gnoll guard pathing up or down or shoved into a corner somewhere. It's just altogether too quiet, suspiciously quiet actually. But this does look like as good a place as any to level up. There's actually gnolls here. We're fairly far deep inside. There's no super easy extraction at this point. You have to run back down that hallway we came, run along the water for a moment, and then you'll see at some point, I'm sure. So this room has 4, maybe even 5 spawns in it. The 2 in the corner and that scrawny gnoll. If that scrawny gnoll had been a higher level one, it would have aggroed as well, which would have been 3 gnolls. Any of these gnolls could have been guardsmen or elite. You can see a patrolling gnoll has snuck up on us there, so as soon as we step up here into the first batch of gnolls that we see, we're already being assaulted by 3. Probably could have played this a little bit more safe, but at this point you pretty much just have to commit to it. You either try and fight your way out to the bitter end, or you turn tail, and run for the zone line without hesitating. Hesitation leads to death. So that Knoll's down to 29%. I'm down to 26%. Wabbo's getting shanked by a scrawny Knoll over there because he sat down to meditate. I'm not interested in even trying to taunt it off of him because I'm about ready to die myself. That loud shanking sound means that you're taking far too much damage. That's what we call that's what I call a Deeds camp break. For fuck's sake, Deeds. He does have a point. We won. Personally, I'm not entirely sure that we did win. And his pet does make a better tank than I do. Until you've left the dungeon with a net gain of experience, you haven't won. Thankfully, as a mage, I'm pretty sure I've mentioned this, he can summon bandages, he can summon a ton of stuff. I think food, arrows, various weapons. I'm not entirely sure he can summon arrows at this point. And I've only got 4 left since my fletching experiment didn't actually turn up anything. But we break this camp and we stay here for a little bit. Take out that Knoll guardsman. I can only bandage myself up to 50% roughly, so once I've got 50% health and he's got enough mana, it's basically go time. And since the respawn timer in this zone is so long, you pretty much have to stay moving. We can fully regen and like med up in a couple minutes at this level. So we were working our way across a bridge, and we came up with a plan here to take care of that Knoll guardsman. I would take down the blue Knoll and tank it, since it shouldn't be able to just rip through me. And his pet would tank the Knoll guardsman over there, which conned yellow to us, which is pretty terrifying. I believe his pet conned yellow as well, however. Jo Nanner there is an amazing pet. We certainly would have been able to make that last break, that camp, without him. And Wabomund, I believe, has a healing spell for his pet at this level. Unfortunately, it didn't go off, or something happened, and his pet died. Thankfully, the Knoll guardsman was close enough to death that he didn't get a chance to actually pummel us down. But that was, I believe, his last pet that he could summon. He ran out of rocks. I only had 4 arrows left. And that was pretty much an end to our adventure here. Without a pet, there's absolutely no way that we could take on whatever is going to spawn down here whenever it spawns. I am like a piece of paper, and he's like a wet piece of paper. So we begin making our way out. The respawns that had popped behind us were 2 scrawny Knolls. They shouldn't aggro, but of course there's always one. There's always one green con that just thinks it has to have a piece of you. I'm assuming it's a green con. Did I even con it, or did I just assume? I know being kind of like, what? Why did this jump me? I'm used to undead jumping you. Undead, like skeletons and zombies, doesn't matter what level you are compared to them. If you get close enough, they'll usually aggro. Not everything is like that, but some sentient things are, as well as most of the undead. But this is that door that I was talking about, which is what we're about ready to reach. The door, I said, you have no idea what's on the other side of it. Could be anything, honestly. I bandaged up, and we can see 1 Knoll there. So we know there is at least 1 Knoll. I don't think there was 2. And I decide to pull it because I don't want him nuking it and pissing it off so much that I can't taunt it off of him. I can still tank better than he can. So I pull him, and bam, it's 2 Knolls. For a second, I think we decide, trying to think about if we can take him or not, but it turns out he was also out of mana. If he had more mana, we probably could have nuked them down. But me sitting there trying to tank 2 of them, and both of them have weapons. They don't always have weapons, but 2 weapon gnolls, simply too much. They stun me, put me in my place. I get the low health movement, and at this point I'm just thinking, well, maybe I can get my body as close to the entrance as possible. Everyone that was near the bridge scatters quite wisely. And I believe that is my 2nd death on my ranger. It took long enough.
Ranger skills!
But I probably deserved that at this point. So it turns into a corpse run. And he dies on the escape. I believe he made it out of the dungeon with 2 hit points. And there is a gnoll that spawns right on the other side of the zone line, and he shanked him for those 2 hit points and killed him. So basically no one is allowed to escape from Blackburrow. I'm not even going to edit that one out. I think BB, and I instantly think of Butcher Block. And that's going to be it for us as far as Butcher... I did it again. As far as Blackburrow goes, that's it. We will be coming back here at some point, but I think for tonight, we're going to be heading to the Warrens. That'll be for the next video. I don't know a whole lot about the Warrens. I didn't even know the Warrens was a thing until I started playing on P99. I certainly don't remember it in Classic. It is a dungeon that is off of Qeynos. So it is a boat ride away. We will be going on a little adventure. We're going to be leaving the Qeynos area for a little bit. The Warrens has a couple interesting mechanics. One is the trivial loot code, which means if you don't get experience from the mob whenever you kill it, then you don't get loot either. You can see me checking the Warrens there. There's only one person, a level 9 wizard gnome named Boomalicious. Maybe we'll bump into them when we get there. It's not incredibly crowded because it's out of the way, and getting to it is a little bit dangerous. So we will save that adventure for next video. Otherwise, this one might go on for about 30 or 40 minutes. As I said, we'll be coming back to Blackburrow at some point. There are a few quests I want to complete here. One is, I believe, for the Gnoll Impaler, a weapon that you can get by killing Lord Grubnub or Elrond or something like that and stealing a baby from him. Couple interesting things. But thanks for joining me, guys. Sorry we didn't spend more time in Blackburrow and show it off. It was kind of a little bit over our heads right now due to the variance of the spawns and levels that are happening here, and quite frankly just how slow the spawns are. 22-minute respawns means you pretty much have to either set and camp and go super slow, or you have to push ahead and eventually get in trouble. The Warrens will probably be more action-packed and exciting with a 6-minute respawn timer. I'll see you guys next time.